Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'd like you to stay standing. I'm sorry, I didn't do it fast enough. Sorry. Please join me in welcoming to present our colors from the Union High School Army Junior ROTC, our Junior ROTC. Color Guard, present the colors. She is a second grader at Battle Hill School. She seems like she's in high school already, I can tell you that. She's from the Apollo All-Stars, but I think for all of us here in Union, we're most recently proud of her because she is the winner of our recent Union Has Got Talent contest. I'm very thrilled and pleased to introduce to you, to lead us in the national anthem, Brianna Cameron. Brianna?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we heard at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rainbows we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say there's that star-spangled banner yet waved o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Why don't you say hello to the governor one more time? There you go. Okay. Wait a moment. You want me to call it? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Let's thank our Junior ROTC. Now, please go ahead and take a seat. By the way, please note all 4 of those young soldiers are female. So, amen to that. Okay. If I haven't had the opportunity to say hello to you, my name is Joe Cryan. I have the privilege of being the state senator here in the 20th District. In a few moments, you'll hear from my colleague, Nick Scutari, from the 22nd District, and our mayor will welcome us and introduce the governor. I have the honor here now of introducing some folks that have joined us, elected officials. We appreciate all of them coming out tonight. I want to begin with our hosts from the Township of Union. Committeeman Manny Figueredo, Deputy Mayor Joe Florio, Committeewoman Suzette Cavadas, and Committeeman Cliff People. I know I'm out of order, but I do want to begin by also thanking Assemblywoman Linda Carter. Where is Linda? Linda, thank you for being here today. I want to thank our surrogate, he's bashful back there, Jim LaCourt, for joining us, and our clerk, Joanne Rajapi. And standing over there looking very official, our sheriff, Pete Corvelli. Pete, thank you for joining us. I want to thank our Roselle Mayor coming over and bringing some folks with her. Roselle Mayor Christine Dansereau. I saw with you Council members Brandon Benier and Denise Wilkerson and Councilwoman-elect Cynthia Thomas. Thank you for joining us as well. I want to thank from Plainfield, Councilwoman Mills Ransom. Where is she? Right there. There's Gillette. The man himself, Councilman Barry Good, Councilman Corey Storch. Also want to thank from Garwood, she joined us today, our mayor, Councilwoman. Listen to me, that's yes.
Without Senator Cryan, this event would not be possible, so I want to thank him most importantly for inviting me here tonight. Thank you, Senator, and thank you for putting this together. And we've got some dynamic elected officials who Senator Cryan already recognized, a majority of our freeholder board and a bunch of local mayors and council people, all dynamic elected officials. I can tell you that, Governor, they're here, they're willing to listen, they want to learn about the issues. I know that you have a standing room only crowd, and I want to welcome them all and say thank you to the Governor for allowing this type of a forum to take place. This is how democracy works. Your elected officials stand and answer questions with respect to important issues of the day, and this governor is clearly up to that task, and I know that he's looking forward to that. And I want to wish him the best tonight, and I want to welcome him to work with myself and Senator Cryan on issues that are important to you and to him so we can continue to move this state forward. Governor, thank you. Senator, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it, Nick. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. That's all right. Thank you, Nick. Just want to thank a couple other folks that help us organize, but I want to recognize, I don't see her, but I know she's here. Where's the mayor of Hillside, Dahlia Patrice? Mayor, oh yeah, because you're all the way back there, Dahlia. Thanks a lot, all right? Great mayor of Hillside. I want to recognize someone close to me who helped organize this event. I'd be remiss if I didn't, and that's Bertha Matthews. Bertha, thank you for your help. And before I introduce our mayor, governor, I want to say happy birthday to somebody very special. Jackie Carter is right over there, and it's Jackie's birthday. So, okay. I promised I wouldn't make everybody sing, but if you get a chance, see Jackie, all right? That in mind, we in the Township of Union are fortunate to have a mayor who's inclusive, who brings people together, and serves as the embodiment of what the best can be in a public official. It is my privilege and honor to introduce to you someone who will introduce the governor, the great mayor of the Township of Union, Mayor Michelle Dellisford.
Good evening, everybody. As the mayor of Union, I am humbled and honored to tirelessly serve the hardworking people of this township. By and large, our residence embodies the very definition of middle class. And the Township Committee and I take responsibility of preserving those values very seriously. Collectively, we share a vision to continue to move forward, Union forward with a commitment to democracy, diversity, opportunity, transparency, and inclusiveness. To be a resident of Union in 2019 means that we hold these values near and dear to our heart. Tonight, I have the privilege to introduce you to a true friend to the Township of Union. He was elected by telling us that he would, quote unquote, have our backs, and he did, and he does. Once elected, he immediately got to work reshaping our great state in a stronger manner. Whether it's restoring off-peak trips on our train line and funding New Jersey Transit, or prioritizing funding for our schools and women health programs, he is not only talking the talk, but he is walking the walk. And in today's climate of divisiveness, he is the breath of fresh air that this very state needs. So please join me in welcoming the governor of the great state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Michelle. That was as good as it gets, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to come back to the mayor in a second, but Joe, I won't be as kind as you were. For Jackie, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jackie. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Got that off my chest. I'm so thrilled to be here. Deb has already, where's Deb? Deb has left us. Deb is somewhere, but Deb Kornavaca has already said that I'm going to speak for a few minutes and then we're going to take some questions. I know we've got a bunch of them you all have filled out, and I'm really excited to be here. Mayor, thank you so much for hosting us, for your great introduction. I'm humbled by that, so thank you. I've known Joe Cryan about as long as anybody in the political realm I've known in the state of New Jersey. And Joe, you invited me here tonight, and I cannot thank you enough. Let's hear it for Senator Joe Cryan. Give a shout out again. He had to go, but he's gone for the right reasons to campaign in Legislative District 21. I won't be too political tonight, but there are elections in 8 days, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But I want to give a big shout out again to State Senator Nick Scuteri, who was just with us. And to all the elected officials, many of whom, BG, I'm looking at you, are on the ballot in 8 days. Rebecca, you as well. You got a couple of races. Cliff and Suzette, I think, are both on the ballot here in Union Township. So to all the elected officials, thank you so much. I'm honored that you'd be out here tonight, to each and every one of you. So thank you for being here. To our brothers and sisters in organized labor, God bless you and thank you for everything you do. And it was mentioned earlier, to our first responders, police, fire, emergency, God bless you all. Thank you for everything you do. And while we're at it, to our veterans, I know we got a bunch of veterans here tonight. God bless you and thank you for your service to our country. We also have three only, members of our administration's cabinet with us tonight. I want to give them, the elected officials have largely been acknowledged, but I want to make sure that you know who they are. I'm going to ask each of them to stand up if they could. The Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, and importantly, in Union County, the Chair of the Board of NJ Transit. If you've got any NJ Transit gripes, Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti. In this town, born in Union Township. I didn't know that. How cool is that? Our Commissioner of Health, for the past several months, doing an extraordinary job with some big challenges. Let's hear it for Judy Persicelli, is with us tonight. And the Adjutant General for the New Jersey National Guard and the leader of the Department of Veterans of Military and Veteran Affairs, General Jamal Beal, is in the house. Again, I'm not, unless you want me to, I'm not here to be political tonight. I mostly want to pull up the hood of the car and give you a sense to look inside of what we're up to in government. But I do want to say this, that there are elections in 8 days. And so I know which side of the aisle I'm on. I'm a lifelong proud Democrat, and I'm proud of that. So I'm not ashamed ever to be a proud Democrat. But whichever side you're on, please vote 8 days from now, a week from tomorrow. This is a historically low turnout election. The General Assembly is at the top of the ticket, and so it's not a year where there's a presidential election like next year or a governor's election the year after. But frankly, the positions, the folks who are here tonight with us, the members of the Assembly, Linda, you're here. I think, are you flying solo here, I think, tonight? I think you are. So Linda's a great example of that, but you've got great freeholders, mayors, committee members, council members. They each deserve our support, number one. I know where I am, but they each deserve a vote. And so I would just plead with you, 8 days from today, a week from tomorrow, please, folks, get out there and vote. Exercise your sacred right in the greatest democracy on the face of the earth and in the history of the earth. So thank you for that. I want to just, if I can spin through a couple, as I said, I want to pull up the hood and give you a sense inside of government what we're up to and why we're doing, in many cases, what we're doing. I use certain words all the time, and I'll give you the two that I use more than any other. which is we said on our campaign, and we've said every day in government, that we stand for a stronger and fairer New Jersey that works not just for some, but for everybody. You've heard me say that before. We also say it differently sometimes. We say that we don't believe that you can make economic progress without social progress. And likewise, we don't think you can make social progress without economic progress. Now, in your mind's eye, that one I think is best thought through. Think of a pie. What good will it be if we grow that pie to our heart's content if we don't make sure that everybody gets a slice of that pie? And on the other hand, we probably could come up with 25 or 50 or 100 really good policies or programs for the state, but if we can't find the money to fund those programs, what good will that do? So economic and social progress. Another way that I have been tagged, I think, on the campaign as a pro-growth progressive. I'll take that. That's who we are. We believe in both economic growth and we are proudly progressive. Now, there are some out there, and they typically fall on the other side of the aisle, who will claim that those words are inconsistent. You can't be both strong and fair. You can't both make economic progress and social progress. And you can't be pro-growth and a progressive at the same time. So I want you to know, me personally, our government, in our bones, every second of every day, completely reject that. We believe without question, not only are those words consistent, but they contribute to each other. So let's talk about fairness for a second. When you have, as we've done, put us on a path to a $15 an hour minimum wage, right? That's not just fairer for the people who are impacted. That money contributes to economic growth. You betcha, when you have earned sick leave, or the strongest equal pay for equal work law in the country, or when you have an expanded paid leave, or when you fund Planned Parenthood, or when you address the inequities in our criminal justice system, where we have the widest white, non-white gap of persons incarcerated in the United States when we took over 21 months ago, when you're doing things for folks whose homes are in foreclosure, when you're doing things for our students who are suffering under an enormous burden of debt. Those are all steps that work for the individual who's impacted, but they work for the rest of us. We're a stronger society. We're a stronger economy as a result of that. And so that's the general value statements that we believe deeply in and that we come to work every day trying to chop through. And that includes, by the way, also a pervasive sense, particularly when we got there, that too many of us are on the outside looking in some sort of special interest state, that working families are at the back of the line, special interests are at the front of the line. And so we're trying to turn that on its head, prioritizing every single day working families over the special interests, over the inside notions. Now, are we there yet? No. We're not there yet. But we're on a journey that is going in a direction we feel really good about. We like where we're headed. We like the progress we're making. In some cases, it's slower than we'd like. And when you've got problems that have been building for decades, you can't turn the ship around overnight. But we're turning the ship around. So what you do, I think, in the meantime, is you look for markers along that journey to give you a sense of whether or not you think you're headed in that right direction. And we've had a few lately that I think are important. We've had the 4th consecutive month in a row with the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state of New Jersey. So it was at 3.4% 4 months ago, then it went 3.3, 3.2, last month was 3.1. Now, the raw numbers don't tell the whole story. It's not just the unemployment rate, it's the quality of the jobs, the wages, the benefits that go with them, the skills that are required. We constantly, I can get into this if you have a question about it or in more detail in some form, we're constantly focused on upskilling individuals in this state so they can get not just a job, but a better job. That's a good benchmark that we've gotten lately. Last month, at long last, we beat Massachusetts. We were rated the #1 public education system in the United States of America. That's a good one for any state. I'll tell you something, we wear that as a badge of honor. I'll come back to that in a second, but that's a big deal. I won't do a Joe Biden big deal, but it's a big deal. Just making sure you're paying attention out there. I'll tell you another cool one another data point we got last month, which got less press, but I think it's maybe among the cooler data points we've gotten. We are not only #1 in America, but we're the first state in the history of America. Did you hear that? First state in the history of America to offer arts education universally to all of our kids in every single public school in this state. Big deal. Hey, by the way, Phyllis, thanks for hosting us here. Let's hear it for our seniors in the Senior Center right here. And I mentioned education, #1 in the country, that's K through 12, but we're on a big march toward not just staying at the top of the heap, but expanding education at the higher ed level, affordability, at the pre-K level, expanding it throughout the state. And I'll give you which these folks know very well, and the mayor knows very well, and that is Union Township for now 2 budgets in a row has got money to fund pre-K expansion from the state that didn't exist 2 years ago. And if my math is right, you went from a mix of full day and half day to now something like 300 and something full day. Full day now, right? 300 and something seats, I believe. That's a game changer. I was just down in Ocean Township, down by me in Monmouth County a couple weeks ago, and one of the impacts from that is the desirability to live in a certain community. If you know that you've got, that's a magnet, as the clerk is shaking her head, right? So you got a magnet to pull somebody in who's one of them, right? So these were constantly looking for magnets to try to pull people in. Again, are we spiking any footballs? We are not. We inherited some challenges that we're building for decades. But again, my point is, I like the values that wrap around our administration. I love the team, the most diverse cabinet in the history of the state of New Jersey. And I might add, General, don't be mad at me, I might add, as is the case tonight, with the 3 who are here, a majority female cabinet. I mentioned some of the fairness steps we've taken, and we've taken a lot of them. And by the way, it takes a village. No matter how good an idea we might have, any of us, you almost can never get there by yourself. And this is another reason to give a shout out to Joe and Linda in particular, because the legislature really matters. And I don't know what the exact numbers are right now, but we've signed about 450 bills, which is bordering on a record after 21 months. And we've had executive orders around, Deb, 85 to 90. So that's basically a 5-ish to 1 ratio. And that says something. We're better, we're stronger, we get there in a more meaningful way when we do it together. So not only am I not spiking any footballs, I'm also not patting myself on the back. We do this together. And by the way, the relationships we have with our counties, and none more important than Union, or with the townships, also really matter when we're pursuing public policy solutions. And I want to make sure you all know that. I want to make sure you know that I know that. And I mentioned labor. Labor is almost always going to be at the table in one form or another. Barry Kushner's in all the way from Hudson County. Barry, nice to see you. You good? But seriously, right? Labor is invariably at the table. And the days of yelling at each other and jamming stuff down their throat, that doesn't get you what even if you wanted a result that was related to, it doesn't get it for you. Now, I mentioned a bunch of the fairness steps. Again, minimum wage, earned sick leave, equal pay. If you're challenged by foreclosure, student debt, criminal justice, there's a whole range of scores of steps that we've taken and we're not done yet, but we've put a lot of pieces in place. On the stronger side, I wanted to spend, because we spend less time on that, talking about it in fora like this, I wanted to spend a minute just on the stronger side in terms of how we sell and portray the state. I just got back a couple of weeks ago from a state visit to India, which was overwhelmingly focused on investment and jobs. And the two words that I was invariably uttering when I was selling the New Jersey story were talent and location. At the end of the day, that covers about 90% of who we are. And again, I think one thing that's probably good advice for young folks here, I know it's advice that I've taken over the years that's been good advice. Don't ever be bashful to stare at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself who you are. That's as an individual, as a business person, an artist, whatever you might be, but also as a state. I think you've got to look in that mirror and be cold-blooded about what are you good at, what are you not good at, where are you likely to have an advantage, where are you not likely to have an advantage. So when I look in the New Jersey mirror, I would die, trust me, to make cars again in New Jersey. I'm not optimistic that's going to happen. I'm going to die trying, but I don't think that's going to happen. You see, so that's one example of who are you not. So we are a state that is the state of innovation. Bell Labs, Thomas Edison, Sarnoff Labs, up and down. It's in our gene, it's in our DNA, and that's driven by talent. So we are all in. Good evening. Welcome. Everything good? No. We're just talking about you behind your back. That's not true. That's just not true. We are talent heavy. So when families make decisions on where they're going to live, or businesses make decisions on where they're going to do business, one of the big magnets we have is talent. That's number one in America, K through 12. Expanding pre-K. Expanding the community college opportunity grants, which I announced at Union County College, is a huge game changer. This is beginning with the folks most in need to be able to go to community college free of charge. Starting again with the folks, we were at $45,000 of adjusted gross income. This year we went to $65,000. It's a home run program, as an example. So it's education, it's workforce development and apprenticeship programs. It is the following fact, which you may not know. New Jersey has the highest concentration of scientists and engineers per square mile of anywhere, where? In the world. In the world. In the world. Talent is, we reek diversity. We are in many respects the most diverse state of any state in America. We wear that as a badge of honor. That's a huge leg up in the 21st century innovation economy. Today we had a Hispanic State Resources Fair in New Brunswick, an extraordinary success. All branches of government were there. You all were well represented, by the way, with all material in the Spanish language, all the folks presenting Spanish speakers. That gives you some sense. 1.8 million Latinos in the state of New Jersey, by the way. Out of 9 million, 1.8 million. We have an exploding diversity in our state. Let's harness that. Let's be proud of that. Let's push back on all the noise that's coming at us and bad words and harsh actions out of Washington and be the exception. That's a big attraction for talent. Location. We got a location that 49 other states would die to have. We got here first and we're not giving it up. So just remember this. We are the 11th largest state in the nation in terms of population. We're the 9th largest economy. We're the 4th smallest state geographically, which makes us by far the densest state in America. Back to diversity for 1 second. It isn't just that we're diverse. We're not New York, Texas, or California, which are typically alongside of us among the most diverse states in the nation. We're not them for two reasons. They have more people and they got a lot more space. So our diversity is overwhelmingly felt more deeply in New Jersey because we're all on top of each other, which is why we got to get the environment right. You don't get a B minus on the environment if you're the densest state in the nation. But this is, I will never understand this from the prior administration as to how it is that we inherited NJ Transit in the shape it was in when we moved in a year ago January. When you're the densest state in the nation, New York, the largest market in the world, is on one side of you. Philadelphia, one of the fastest growing markets in the country, is on the other side. That's the hand you got dealt. It isn't being a Democrat or a Republican or a Martian or a communist or whatever. It's just play the damn hand. Make sure that you can move people and things around your state better than any other state in America. It's existentially important to our economy and our society. We will fix NJ Transit. Period. I love that, by the way. I love that. I got to start doing this thing. I love that. We will fix NJ Transit if it kills me, which it might. I hope not during the town hall, Ray. All right, man. I love you. And the data is clearly getting better. I'll give you an example of a day 2 weeks ago. I've used this example once, and I want to make sure you hear it and how I think about this. And Diane is, thanks to Diane, we are fixing it because she's the chair of the board. I don't want to cross Diane. I'm not crossing Diane. So we run about 250 trains, Ray's on the bus side. The bus side has held up meaningfully better over the years than the rail side. We need more bus service. And by the way, the men and women who go to work every day at NJ Transit never failed us. They always stood tall. They always stood tall. So NJ Transit runs about 250 trains every rush hour in the morning. You with me? There was a day 2 weeks ago, I ask every day what our runs are, and 244 of them went out of 250. So at one level, I'm a baseball fan, by the way. By the way, the Nationals needed a travel day after the weekend they had. 244 over 250 is a damn good batting average, right? Except if one of those 6 trains was yours, in which case you don't care about our batting average. And I don't blame you. You're frustrated, so am I. Our objective, Diane and I and the whole team, is to bat 1,000. Are we going to get there? By the way, there are certain days we do bat 1,000 right now. But we got to be able to bat 1,000 day in and day out. It's manpower that wasn't hired. It was the wrong management. State funding cut at one point by 90, not 90%. Hello? Fares went up 36% in the last administration. We weren't keeping up with federal safety requirements. Those days are over. So again, when I think about the state, I think talent and location. Let's own each of those words, each of those concepts. And if we do, good things will follow both for our economy in the stronger and the fairer side. About 6 months ago, I see Brent Johnson's here. It wasn't Brent, but somebody in the press wrote that we had made 52 promises on the campaign trail, and we had achieved 47 of them. That's another good batting average, right? But there are a couple on there that, I'm not happy unless we bat 1,000 on that one as well. And there are a few on there that I'm really frustrated by. One of them is, please, if you don't even have to ask me, I promise you, I want to end the bear hunt as much, if not more than you do. I promise you. And we will do that. It's just really a lot harder than I thought it was. Sometimes you're on the outside looking in, you think you can do something, and when you get in there, it's harder. Legislation, by the way, would end it. That's the one permanent fix, so that's something I hope we can get to at some point. Another one, the public bank. You may have heard me talk about the public bank, which is a really good idea, particularly for student loans. Another idea that is a lot harder to get done once we're on the inside than I thought. We're playing with things on both of those topics and both of those fronts that I hope will lead to something. But there's another promise that is emblematic of something I want to. I'm almost done here. I want to make sure you're thinking about this, or you see at least how we're thinking about it. And one of them was tax fairness, a millionaire's tax in particular. And we got a partial success last year, but we don't have the full success that we need. But let me say this: I got nothing against millionaires. In fact, I want more of them. I don't begrudge anyone who's participated in their own way in the American dream. God bless them. That's America. All I'm asking is that we get a little bit of fairness. Help us level the playing field out. I can't justify an all-in historic investment in the middle class, which was somewhere between neglected and ravaged under the last administration, whether it's public. By the way, I grew up in a working poor family, looking up, hoping one day, we all did, that we would get into the middle class. So let's not forget those dreams either, right? So I can't justify making all the investments we're making and then make the same people pay for it. That doesn't work for me. That's negating a lot of the investment we're making. And so it leads me to the following just observation for you. We talk a lot about big structural deficits in this state, and we should. And we need to do things. We need to do things about them. Pension, health care, property taxes, outstanding indebtedness. You know, you can't overstate the mess that has been building for a long time, particularly in the last administration. So we're chopping away at all of these things. But there's another kind of deficit over here, which is we've got a revenue deficit. And I'll give you the millionaire's tax is a good example. It's not just $500 million a year that we don't have this year, that we could have and we need. It was canceled in 2010. Multiply that by 9. That's $4.5 billion. Hello, Angela. Take my seat. I'm not going back down there. Come on down. Sorry. How are you? Nice to see you. Excuse us.
Good evening.
It's not just $500 million. It's $4.5 billion we don't have that we could have and should have. The sales tax gimmick, when it was cut 3 Decembers ago, that's not just $675 million a year. That's $2 billion. Those two taxes alone, those two pieces of tax fairness is $6.5 billion. And with this president and a jittery economy and a global jitter, hey Charles, in things like trade and tariffs, those are revenues that we're going to need to pay for the things in a tough economy like expanding pre-K and other programs like that. And that's in addition to some other steps which we'd love to see taken. Have the opioid distributors and manufacturers pay a per pill charge to help us pay for our opioid programs, which continues to be a crisis in the state. Or big companies that don't provide health care for their employees, and therefore the employee has no place to go other than a Medicaid. You know what? The feds and we are paying for that. Mr. or Ms. Company, we're going to ask you to help us pay for that and have a per head charge to help us defray the costs. Or I got nothing against the Second Amendment, but the gun license fee in the state was last raised. You know when it was last raised? 1966. I was 9. Baltimore Orioles, I believe, won the World Series that year, Joe. Am I right? So let's focus on property taxes, pension, health care, outstanding indebtedness. We should and we are. But let's also not neglect the revenue deficits that we need, and we will need even more if we have a choppier economy. I'll leave you with a couple of quickies. How do I see the state? I see it in 3 big demographic buckets. The big, thick middle are the folks, and I'm going to not always get this right, but who are about 30-ish years old, maybe late 20s. I'm 62, so maybe a couple more years into the mid-60s. They're defined, they own a house, two income household, and they're educating their kids in public school. We are either a state of choice or the state of choice for that demographic. My job, our job, is to make sure it stays that way. Number 1, public education, fix NJ Transit, keep health care costs down, quality of life high, etc. The two wings historically have been a little bit more of a challenge. The young folks, you're 18 or 22, you choose either to go out of state too often to go to college, or when you get out of college, you go out of state to get a job. Well, let's fix that. We got a lot of stuff we're throwing at that. College affordability, communities that millennials want to live and work in, deepening the relationship between higher ed and the real economy. If you look at the secret sauce of what's happened in Boston or Northern California, it's a deepening in the relationship between research universities and the real economy. And we used to dominate that in life sciences. We still are big in this, by the way. Life sciences, tech, telecom, but we've got other competitors now. So it's basically getting, again, on that arc of theoretical research to applied research to commercialization, owning that space. Millennials want to live that, so we're throwing a lot at funding incubators, helping them pay their rent so they can put money in research and development, making, as I said, college more affordable. We got computer science for all being rolled out around the state, based first on need, big STEM initiatives, etc. So it's that 18 or 22-year-old up to when they decide to start a family. And again, I'm being sort of overly simplified there. There's a bunch of stuff there. The bigger challenge historically, and is still the case, although we're doing a lot, is that 60-odd year to infinity. And you look at your significant other, you're retired, you still own your home, but your kids have graduated. And you have that kitchen table conversation, you say, hey, wait a minute, Johnny and Sally have graduated, but we're still paying on average in the state, 53% of our property tax bill is for education. That's the group that we got to be worried about. And by the way, 99.9% of them, probably 99.99% of them are not millionaires. This is not a middle class issue. It's not a millionaire's issue. It's a middle class issue. So it's homestead rebate. It's historic property tax relief, shared services, programs for veterans and seniors, senior freeze. That's the group that wants to be here, but too often is saying, you know what, I'm not sure I can see my way to staying here. We want them here in New Jersey. We got to give them a reason to believe. And that's, to me, a work in progress. I think we've made a lot of progress. Last year was the lowest increase on average in property taxes in the history of the state. That's the good news. Wait a minute. That's the good news, but I still used in that sentence, increase. We want to see that thing coming down. So I'll leave you with this. We are realistically, and we were in our best days when we were AAA bond rating, when so many of us either grew up here or came here. This is a state my wife Tammy and I came to raise our 4 kids. Best decision we ever made. We are, on our best days, a good value for money state. You know you pay a little bit more to be in New Jersey, but you get a rich basket of stuff back in return. The problem we inherited, and we're trying to break the back of, the premium went wild and the basket shrunk. So our job, my job, is to chop down that premium. More than anything, it's property taxes, but other non-tax taxes, like we've frozen now, thanks to Diane and team, 2 years in a row, no fare increases now for a second year in a row at NJ Transit. That's not a tax, but that's a big price people pay, right? So let's chop that premium down and let's bulk up that basket. Great public education, transportation, health care, workforce development, quality of life, all of that. So good value for money. But you know what else? It's also values. Increasingly, when I'm sitting with a CEO who's either here or thinking of coming here, and you can't keep them all and you can't get them all, but increasingly CEOs, heads of household, they talk not just about the math, what's the value from money equation you're talking about, but they talk about values. And I have no less an objective to be the #1 state in the American class in terms of values. So we are proudly the nation's safest gun safety law state in America, and we will remain that. We have a real agenda for for a 100% clean energy New Jersey by the year 2050, including the largest offshore wind development in the entire world. We care deeply, and no one stands stronger on behalf of our LGBTQ plus community than the state of New Jersey. There is no state that has a stronger record than this administration in women's health. We inherited a state, right, where Planned Parenthood hadn't been funded for 8 years, and it's not just funding Planned Parenthood, which we did immediately, but it's a whole other series of steps. We are a state that will have the most sensible, forward-looking immigration policies for our immigrant brothers and sisters than any other state in America. And don't listen to the fear-mongers. The facts are on our side. And be strong about this, folks. When anyone, but certainly our immigrant brothers and sisters, have the confidence to come out of the shadows and engage their neighbors, their faith leaders, their elected officials, and most importantly, law enforcement, when that happens, it is a safer community and a safer state. And the facts bear that out. So it's not just good value for money, which we work on every single day. It's the best values in America. God bless you all. Thank you so much for hearing me out. We'll take a few questions.
Another question, sir.
I've not seen these questions, by the way. We have Kelly, we have Imani. Where's Kia? Kia and Deb. Let's hear it for these four ladies. Give me 1 sec here. Okay, here we go. Pat Matthews, 1199 SEIU. Where are you, Pat? So Pat's got a question, which is, I live in Newark, where we have a lead in the water crisis. What can be done to fix the infrastructure and help our working families? Pat, thank you. Deep appreciation. Can I answer? Just go straight up? Did I get it right? Okay. Let's hear it for Pat, by the way. Come on. I'll be quick, but we're doing a lot. Working with Mayor Ras Baraka, who I think has done a terrific job on a lot of fronts, including this. In Newark, there's a short-term, medium-term, long-term fix. The short-term was and is less so now, but for highly at-risk communities like newborns, nursing mothers, the very elderly, bottled water, filters, more testing. A lot of that's been done and is ongoing. The medium-term solution is, and this, by the way, has worked in the past, but it stopped working for reasons that folks aren't 100% sure of. You flush a solution through your pipes that prevents the lead from leaching off of the inside of the pipe. The solution is called orthophosphate, is the new solution. That is showing good early signs of success. We'll know more probably turn of the year, but that's a good sign. And the long-term solution, as it is for the state, and I'll come to that in a second, is replace the damn lead service lines. And Mayor Baraka, with our help, with the Essex County's help, and by the way, the Essex County folks have done a great job on this as well, are in a process right now of doing just that. They've already replaced many hundreds. They've got a lot more to go. They think they could do it maybe as fast as 3 years. I hope we can get there that fast, and that's a game changer. At the state, I announced a couple of weeks ago a comprehensive program, long and short of it, to replace all the lead service lines in our state in the next 10 years. That's longer than we'd like, but physically and in reality, you can't do that any faster. That includes, we want to ask on the next year's ballot a referendum to get a big bond to help us pay for it. Not everybody has a municipal water source. Many of us have a source that is from an investor-owned utility. So the $500 million bond won't be for that. That's a separate process that you'll go through with ratepayers, and they'll bake that into their rate base. But our guiding view is access to clean drinking water is not a privilege, it's a right. Right? Just as public education is. And our job is to make sure that's exactly what happens. Last thing, this is not, as you know this, it's not just a Newark problem. It's not just a Jersey problem. It's also, by the way, not just an urban problem. Mayor Baraka and I, about 8 months ago, got a bunch of mayors around the table. Am I right? 8 months ago, wherever Deb is? That's about right? And you'd be shocked by the diversity. Hillside has had this challenge. The diversity of the communities represented, including suburban and rural. But here's the other big point, and this is the sort of the last part of this, but the biggest picture part of it. It's an American problem. We're not the only state in America with lead pipes. This is all over the United States. And so we need, it's like gun safety. Hello? It's like sensible immigration laws and reform. It's like a lot of things now. The to-do list in Washington grows. And so this should be high on that list. If I were the president, or if the president were to ask me, and trust me, he's not, this is a win-win-win. It's a great step in terms of public, in other words, a big national renaissance to replace water infrastructure. Right, Joe? I mean, this is a big one. It's a job spinner. It's good public health, particularly directed at kids, where we know, Judy, right, the impacts of lead on kids is devastating. It's hugely popular. Folks, raise your hand if you want to keep your lead line. Nobody raises their hand. So anyway, Pat, thank you for that. Oh boy, is it Rome? Is there a Rome? Romies, I'm sorry. Stand up, Romy, take a bow. From South Mountain School. Is this, Romy, did you really ask this?
Yeah.
Can you please give us less homework? Just to make sure you guys see this. I think that's above my pay grade, Romy. What grade are you in? Fourth grade? How's it go? I got it, thank you. How's it going so far?
Hard.
And what particular, if you had one subject where you'd like to have less homework, what would it be?
Word study.
Word study. Everybody get that? Is Romy's teacher here, by the way, tonight? Perhaps watching a live stream? Let's hear it for Romy. Thank you. Okay. Nancy, is it Minichi? Yes. Where are you, Nancy? How are you? Nice to see you. You've got, I'm going fast here, Union Board of Ed President. God bless you, Madam President. I wish if only. You asked, can you comment on the increased aid and its prospects for the future? Yes. School aid, I assume, right? School aid, yes. Okay. Let's hear for Nancy. So we've now had two back-to-back historic years of school aid. You're in Union, right? Yes. So Union got a big uptick last year and a smaller uptick this year. Am I right? You're around 33 change million? And by the way, pre-K is about 3.2 or 3.3 million on top of that. So the 33 is K through 12. We will be good for it because we want to have the great public education system we have in this state, including right here, and in many of the communities represented. But I will tell you, I'm not just saying this to go back to something that I said earlier as a self-serving matter, but it's the facts. The way to ensure it would be tax fairness, to allow us to get some of those big nuts that I spoke about earlier, particularly a millionaire's tax, which would give us the comfort that we'd have the money we had to not just take care of the pension, health care, property tax challenges, but also make sure the investments we're making, particularly in public education and transit and probably health care, the three big ones that we can continue to. So it's not entirely predicated on that, but that will give us a lot more confidence for me to say you can count on. I don't know the increases are going to be like they've been because these numbers have been big over the past couple of years, but we're going to do our level best to do that. Again, when you got the #1 public education system in America, the #1 educators in America, I'm just saying, part of my job is to not screw it up. Which gets back to Romy's complaint about too much homework, but that's it. Ray Perkins, where are you, Ray? Hey, Ray, you asked, can you tell me how someone would enroll in the Affordable Care Act? So, I got that right?
You do. Yes.
Okay, so Ray, let's hear for Ray. What's it, getcovered.org? getcovernj.org or getcovered? Getcoverednj.org. Okay? Here's the, Ray, I love the fact you asked this question. The enrollment period begins Friday, November 1 to December 15, unless for explicit circumstances like you had a baby. Ray, I know, I got you. But unless you have, we'll talk about that later. Okay. Unless you got a particular circumstance, this is the one block of the year that you got to weigh in and get covered or change your coverage. I'm saying this is a factual matter. I'm not trying to be overly political. The Trump administration cut both the enrollment period in half and the amount of money that we have to be able to promote the enrollment period. It's part of the reason why we are building our own state exchange. We're sending more money down to Washington on this front than we're getting back to support the enrollment, right?
We've been doing that forever.
We've been doing that, we continue to. So we are, I think we put $2 million in the budget to support the promotion of enrollment over the next 6+ weeks. Last year we threw a significant amount of money, not as much as $2 million, I think it was $400,000, and we didn't get the results we wanted. And that's kind of just us. The federal government used to be under the President Obama. I miss President Obama, by the way. May I say that? Is that okay, Joe? So we'll throw a bunch of resources at it, but it won't be anything like controlling our destiny. Ray, thank you. God bless. Laura, is it Detchen? Yes. How'd I do, Laura? Yes. You happen to be beside Ray.
Yes. Not always.
Sorry, it says Democrat, local, independent. Is that
correct?
Those both true statements? Okay.
Correct.
What are you planning to do to help public school teachers get Chapter 78 relief? Yeah. Did I get it right? Thank you, Laura. So Chapter 78, 2010, how many educators, I've lost track of how many educators I've met who are taking home less money. I am emotional about it, but I'm not as emotional as I sounded. We're taking home less take-home pay in 2019 than they did in 2010. Right? Every room I'm in. So we got to turn that around. We've been working very constructively, in particular with NJEA, for several months. I think the Assembly has. I believe the Senate is also now. So I'm optimistic something can happen here. It has to happen. We cannot, if we claim that our most precious assets are our kids, which they are, I've got 4 of them, 22, 20, 18, and 16, so please, among other things, keep me in your prayers. If we claim that they're our most precious assets, if you add up, and my wife and I do this from time to time, the amount of hours in the week that we spend with our kids versus teachers, educators are on a pedestal. They have to be. This has got to be the one state in America where they're on a pedestal, and you got to pay them right, and you got to give them a fair deal, and you got to make sure that they've got top-flight health care that they pay a reasonable price for. And there's too much noise out there about lessening either the quality of the health care or making them pay more. I'm not signing up for that ever, ever. Thank you. What's that? Yeah. So it's Joe, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Joe Cryan.
It's my bill in the Senate, Laura. All right, we're going to get it done one way or another. All right. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership.
You need it. Love you, man. Wait a minute. I mentioned Barry earlier. I got a question for Barry. Deb, careful with the microphone with Barry. In from Bayonne. By the way, did you see the New Jersey Hall of Fame last night? Inductions. George R.R. Martin from Bayonne was in the house in Asbury Park last night. What is your plan moving forward to help NJ have a responsible tax, what is the word? Incentive program. Okay. God, we could talk all night about that, which I don't want to. We promised to get you out around 8, so I'm going to talk fast. Barry, I'm optimistic we'll get one. We're digging out of an era where tax incentives were used as the only incentive that we offered folks. They were used as a blunt instrument. They didn't distinguish between large and small companies or new technology versus old technology. And then as this task force and some of the press has noted over the past 6 months or so, the system appears to have been jobbed on top of all that. So even if it wasn't jobbed, in terms of job growth, wage growth, poverty eradication, you ready for this? The last decade before we got here, and again, we don't have all the answers. I'm not saying that to be full of myself. We were 42nd in wage growth, 47th in poverty eradication, and 49th in job growth. That's out of 50, by the way, Sheriff. So, I mean, come on. Even if the system was working really well, that's not, you don't want to be the bottom 5 in the country for crying out loud. This is New Jersey. So we need a new set of incentives. We've presented it over a year ago now. I like a lot of what they are. They have caps. They're more transparent. They're going, as Walter Gretzky said about his son Wayne when they asked, why is your son so good? He said, because he goes to where the puck is going, not to where it's been. And these incentives capture that. And so I believe in them deeply. And by the way, we've had good conversations with the legislature. Those conversations have borne fruit, in particular on things like food deserts, anchor institutions, specific programs for some of our big urban communities. Bless you. So I'm optimistic, but I'm also frustrated. Enough. Let's get this done. I want to repeat one point I made a minute ago in passing. We inherited last administration where you open the toolbox up if you're talking to a company, and the only tools in there were tax incentives. A bunch of them. Gobs of money. We compete head-to-head with Massachusetts on life sciences and bio and technology. Well, at the end of the last administration, we were paying out, on average, $162,000 per job created. Massachusetts was paying $22,000 and cleaning our clock. So you ask yourself, well, how can that be? And the answer is they were making the adjacent investments that we're now making. So back to your question, Madam President, about school funding. We underfunded the school funding formula in the last administration by $9 billion. As I mentioned earlier, we cut NJ Transit at one point by 90. So that's what folks want. They want to know, what are my workers' families' lives going to be like when I'm there? What's the quality? What's the education? Can I get around the state, et cetera? I think the facts are overwhelmingly compelling and on our side. I'm frustrated, but I'm optimistic. I got to hurry up because they're giving me the evil eye here. Marie, is it Canarelli? Hi, Marie.
Hi.
You're asking about, are we still working on our SALT deductions? You betcha we are.
Okay.
I'm not happy about that either. It's an awful tax bill passed and signed by President Trump in 2017. It's got one nice feature, which are opportunity zones, which is incentives to get capital into high poverty census tracts. But this SALT deduction, for anybody who's paying property taxes north of $10,000, and the average in the state is around that, and in certain counties and certain communities it's way over that, they eliminated the deduction. And it was politically motivated, in my humble opinion, directed not just at us, but at states like us. We are going to fight. We're fighting it legally. We've proposed a workaround that the IRS has rejected. We're going to battle back against that. I'm saying this is an objective matter, not a political matter. You get a different Senate, a different White House. We will repeal that cap. Jeff, are you the guy? Jeff, you Jeff? You're Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Your friend is here who spoke about me earlier. How are you? So Jeff asked, may I ask this out loud, Jeff?
Please do. Thank you very much.
I didn't realize I was getting this till I just saw
I
it.
appreciate you taking my question. Thank you.
My pleasure. Why, is a terminal cancer patient, God bless you, all right, so our prayers are with you. Why, as a terminal cancer patient, the state will assist my suicide, but not allow me access to medical cannabis? I cannot afford or access the amounts to treat my cancer as ordered by my doctors. So you have access, but not to the quantity that you need.
I'm one of the few patients in the program probably that have unlimited amounts of monthly cannabis. And most dispensaries will only allot me a quarter of an ounce. They're unable to supply me, and
Okay.
I'm unable to treat my cancer, and I'm not alone.
Yep.
Governor.
So I said, what's your name, sir? Lefty? Lefty, yes, sir. Seriously? Yes. I'm a lefty. So we were together at the Hispanic State Fair earlier, and
We were at Freehold with you, with Jake's Law as well.
okay, so bless you. Judy, can you, Judy Persicelli, who's the Commissioner of Health, who's with us. Jeff, I'm going to have her follow up with you afterwards because I don't want to do this in public. We got to understand your specific situations, but I want everyone to keep this guy in your prayers. Let's give him a big round of applause here. There are more, but I think to ask another question on the back of that one, which I didn't see coming, is borders on sacrilegious. I want to thank again the mayor, the committee, Joe Cryan, a dear friend from a long time ago, to all the elected officials, labor, first responders, veterans, educators, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you for welcoming me so graciously into this extraordinary town. God bless you all. Thanks, Manny.